Hello students and viewers, myself Dr. Shiv Harsh Singh, and today I have come before you with a very useful lecture on Vienna World Conference on Human Rights 1993. Students and viewers, a world conference on human rights was held under the aegis of United Nations in Vienna, the capital of Austria, from June 14 to June 25, 1993. Vienna Conference 1993 on human rights was the first international conference to focus exclusively on human rights since the end of Cold War. Students and viewers, though the United Nations has been active in the field of human rights, but the Vienna World Conference on Human Rights 1993 was only the second world conference to exclusively focus on human rights, the first being the International Conference on Human Rights held in Tehran, the capital of Iran, in 1968 to mark the 20th anniversary of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, 10th December 1948. Students and viewers, the idea of holding a world conference on human rights was first proposed in 1989 because the end of Cold War brought about the hope that the long stalemate and distortion of UN behavior because of the bipolar superpower confrontation would cease and a good progress on the front of human rights could be made. Students and viewers, the Vienna World Conference on Human Rights 1993 was attended by the representatives of 171 states, 800 non-governmental organizations, and about 7,000 people in all participated in this conference. This made the Vienna World Conference on Human Rights 1993 the largest ever gathering on the subject of human rights because the first international conference on human rights, Tehran, 1968, was attended only by the representatives of 84 states, 4 regional organizations, and 57 NGOs. Students and viewers, the Vienna World Conference on Human Rights 1993 was organized by the human rights expert John Pace, and Mr. Ibrahim Fall was the Secretary General of Vienna World Conference on Human Rights 1993. Students and viewers, the Vienna World Conference on Human Rights 1993 did have an expansive view of human rights, with efforts made to highlight the rights of women, the rights of indigenous people, the rights of minorities, and the rights of children. And that too in the context of universal political and economic rights. Especially the rights of women were very much highlighted during this conference. Students and viewers, the only fault line at the conference was the Western nations who proclaimed a universal meaning of human rights versus the non-Western states who said that human rights needed to be interpreted differently in non-Western cultures. and that imposing a universal interpretation and definition of human rights amounted to interference in their internal affairs. This group of non-Western nations included China, Syria, Iran, Malaysia, Indonesia, Vietnam. U.S. Secretary of State Warren Christopher spoke out very strongly against this notion by saying, we cannot let cultural relativism become the last refuge of repression. Students and viewers, the key result of the Vienna World Conference on Human Rights 1993 was the Vienna Declaration and Program of Action, adopted and signed by the consensus of 171 states on 25th June 1993. The declaration established the interdependence of democracy, economic development, and human rights. Specifically, it ended the Cold War division of civil and political rights apart from the social, economic, and cultural rights, and it replaced this Cold War division of civil and political rights apart from economic, cultural, and social rights with the concept of human rights being indivisible, interdependent, and interrelated. Students and viewers, the declaration revealed that the Vienna World Conference on Human Rights 1993 took three new steps. First, it supported the creation of a new mechanism, a special rapporteur on violence against women, who was subsequently appointed in 1994. Secondly, it recommended the proclamation by United Nations General Assembly an international decade of indigenous people of the world, which led the United Nations General Assembly to proclaim 2 decades of the indigenous people of the world. The first from 1994 to 2004, and the second from 2005 to 2014. Thirdly, it called for the universal ratification of the Convention on Rights of Child by 1995. In this way, the conference requested for the creation of instruments to publicize and protect the rights of women, indigenous people, and children. The conference also requested more funding for UN Center for Human Rights, and most significantly, it called for the creation of the post of United Nations High Commissioner for Human Rights, who was subsequently appointed by United Nations General Assembly on 20th December 1993. In his closing comments, the Secretary General of the Vienna Conference, Ibrahim Fall, said that the declaration provided to the world community with a new framework of planning, dialogue, and cooperation to promote and protect human rights involving the people at all levels, international, national, and local. Students and viewers, this Vienna Declaration and Program of Action was subsequently endorsed by United Nations General Assembly as part of its resolution 48 by 12. So students and viewers, this has been a very informative lecture on Vienna World Conference on Human Rights 1993. If you have any queries and you need any explanation, then I will be very happy to satisfy your queries and to provide some more explanation. And always feel free to call me. Thank you so much.